Okay, hold on, Leanna. And as soon as I get this going, I will have Leanna take over. We have a all right.
Are we all set, Debbie?
We are set. I believe we are streaming. And Lisa's gonna verify that we are, and we are good.
We all set, Lisa? Almost. We'll wait to make sure we're okay. We are now streaming on Facebook, and we have all of our participants here, and we're getting ready to start. Well, I hope you enjoyed your mixing time and networking time from 2 to 2:30 for those of you that could join us, and I hope you made some meaningful connections. And now we're looking forward to starting our full general meeting. We're so happy to have you here today. Thank you for adjusting. That's our word now, adjusting, always ready to adjust. We were supposed to be meeting in person, but due to the numbers, thank you for adjusting so we can make sure we're staying as safe as possible this month, and keeping our organizations as safe as possible. We really appreciate jumping back onto this Zoom platform with that change. So we're looking forward to our speakers today, and we will be talking today about our work in the homeless and our plan for 2020 and how we could serve our homeless community in the city of Fullerton and in Orange County. So our first speaker today on this subject is Kelly Fritzel from the city of Fullerton. She is the Deputy Director of Community and Economic Development, and she has been attending our board meetings the last couple times, which has been so great to have her there with us. And her input from the city. So Kelly, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. And, the discussion of homelessness is near and dear to my heart. As everybody knows, I've been working on this for over 6 years. So I do have a short PowerPoint. Well, to me, everything is short. I'm in government. So, and let me see if I can share this. I was working on it earlier. And of course, I cannot find it. I did send it to Deborah just in case as my backup. Can you share it to Deborah?
Yes, let me just pull it up on my end as well. Let's see, where did it go? It's loading. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, come on. I think everything's a little bit slower.
It's 2022. I have to check because I've only written it a couple of times, so I've made no mistakes. I've been very, very careful. So let me start with the city of Fullerton has been a leader in homelessness. It doesn't seem like it. We don't toot our own horn, but we have been providing services in homelessness. We have a huge amount of providers here in the city of Fullerton. So say that we have been very, very lucky in the fact that we have been able to provide these services. So the presentation that I had is, I kind of wanted to give a history to the city council because we had some new council members that really haven't had a chance to see what we've done over the years. And in this last, I'd love to say only 2 years, but 2 years of COVID, we had actually even exceeded and gone above and beyond what many cities were doing. So, is it coming up?
It's coming, yeah. Sorry, my PowerPoint is being really not happy with it right now. Okay, it's coming.
Mine didn't even want to talk to me today. So yours is much better if it's just being slow.
And as we are waiting for this to come up, I just want to also highlight, if you have events coming on up at your event and you're wanting to share, please put in the chat. I will be also putting the sign-in sheet as well. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, I think I have it. If I can. Oh, come on. There we go. Yay.
And just for everybody's information is technically I have retired from the city of Fullerton, but I have come back as a consultant because there's things that need to get done, you know, and a lot of this I'll discuss in the homeless response by the city of Fullerton of why I want to be here and why I'm still really wanting to continue service. So, Deborah, you're going to have to forward. So I wanted to overview of our background, the history, litigation, our North Service planning area, Fullerton's response programs we've done, the Hope Center, and I'm going to leave you with the point in time count, begging to get volunteers. So that's my plan. So as you know, all of California counties and cities have seen an ongoing increase in homelessness. Nationwide, not as much as California. And Fullerton's unsheltered, we count both sheltered and unsheltered, but we focused on the unsheltered, has increased from 149 in 17 to 233 in 2018, and in 2019, 308 persons. Now, we're going to be doing our next point in time count in 2022. Normally it's every 2 years, but with the COVID virus, we had put it off for a full year. So for over 30 years, the county's cold weather shelter was located in Fullerton. And this has been a point of contention of maybe that has led to many of the unsheltered homeless in the city. Just to let you know, that closed in 2020 by the county, not a city decision, the county, and they only have the Santa Ana cold weather shelter open. But we have been working, the county, nonprofits, and faith-based work with the cold weather shelter to provide services to our homelessness. And well, the county did provide the transportation to and from the shelter. The city's homeless count increased, and potentially due to the services resources offered in the city. It was easier for our homeless to stay in the city and then just walk over to the shelter every night instead of going and finding one of the transportation outfit. We do not make it easy to get our homeless to shelters. And I will say that, and it's something we will work on over the next couple of years. Okay. So the litigation has been the hot spot. In September 2018, the United States Court of Appeals issued the Martin versus City of Boise decision. This was the decision that has rocked the homeless world. In general, holding that local governments cannot enforce anti-camping ordinances without having access to shelter beds. So you can't tell somebody they can't camp here or it's sleep here unless there's a bed available. And that means if you only have a female bed, then the male person can continue to sleep there. So it really became services you have to provide for our homeless clients. In 2018, the Orange County Catholic Worker et al. Sued many cities, not the city of Fullerton, regarding the homeless encampment enforcement on the Orange County flood control channel. And everybody remembered in 2018, I mean, it was a mile of homelessness and there was not a lot of enforcement. Everybody turned a blind eye, but it was not good for the homeless there. So the plaintiffs, basically, they said, hey, we're going to start suing all of the adjoining cities, even though we didn't name Fullerton. They had named the city of Orange, which is in North Spa. So the North Spa proactively entered into a settlement agreement regarding the how we can enforce anti-encampment, but more importantly, how we can provide services to our homeless. So the county, when they had first hired Susan Price as our homeless czar, created 3 homeless service planning areas, spas. not a great name, but the North Spa is, I would say, one of the leaders in providing services. But the settlement agreement set forth that, well, if the North Spa provided 250 shelter beds, we could start doing our enforcement. So Placentia opened up with 100 beds, and then Buena Park with 150 beds. I should note that Buena Park has never had 150 people in their shelter. They have kept it about 120 to 115 just because of COVID since they've opened up. So funding for the two shelters are from the city's SB2 permanent local housing allocation funding. This is based on everybody's registration, and all of our funds go to this. So we don't have any additional funding for the Fullerton shelter, and that's really a big issue. We paid 30% of the operational cost of the shelters when we've only had about 13% of the shelter beds. Now that has been increasing on a monthly basis, and basically because, you know, we keep pointing out that aspect of we want fairness. If we're only going to have 13 to 15% of the beds, we should only be paying for 15% of the operating cost. Should go forward. So Fullerton's response. The Homeless Collaborative, now part of the Fullerton Collaborative, founded in 2006. And if I'm getting this wrong, this is based on all the reporting I've read, consisted of a group of service providers and active community members devoted to sharing resources to better coordinate outreach to the homeless. And this was key. And that's now what we have Fullerton Act, in which Jason will talk about a lot. In September 2011, the city established the first task force. I did not know that when I came in, it was the second task force on homelessness, but this really focused on mental health services. And I think the recommendations from January 2012 is still, key. Year-round emergency shelter, we've done that, but information on services for mentally ill homelessness, permanent supportive housing, and focusing on mentally ill homelessness, and supportive housing for very low and extremely low income residents. Very key, we have done some of those issues. Our Fullerton Police Department was the first agency to employ our homeless liaison officers. And they required an additional crisis intervention training. We partnered with the mental health clinician from the County of Orange. And we used to have 4 homeless liaison officers. We only have 2 now. We contracted with CityNet to provide homeless outreach and case management services. But in 2019, we hired a part-time homeless consultant and created a homeless manager position. This was Brianna, many of you know, and she was kind of the founding of how the city of Fullerton would bring homelessness in-house to focus on Fullerton's issue and not trying to partner with so many other cities and sharing services. So in 2019, we created a new position, homeless outreach coordinator. So we brought Brianna in from being a consultant to an employee. And she was, the first to approve a temporary safe parking program, partnership with the Illumination Foundation, and then extended it with Pathways of Hope. And our extension was due to COVID. And I think we learned a lot from the safe parking program. And in the future, we've been sharing our information with many, many cities. In February 2020, the council received the second homeless ad hoc committee report. Again, some of the key same issues: emergency shelters, permanent supportive and affordable housing, prevention and diversion programs, and also outreach programs. Get forward that. So what have we been doing? I think we've really looked at, first and foremost, is we have to try to prevent homelessness. So the city established a tenant-based rental assistance program for seniors of 2 different parks. That there is a real concern that many seniors would become homeless if, because they could not pay for the very high and steep increases in rent. We also created a citywide TBRA program for senior veterans. Both of those programs have been continued for another 2 years, so I'm quite happy. And due to COVID, we received additional monies. So we did our emergency rental assistance program, which was up to $1,000 for rent. We did not check for citizenship. That was controversial, but we wanted to help keep people housed and not create additional homelessness. Pathways of Hope did a second TBRA rental utility and food assistance. They helped 104 families. They did a great job. We developed the Feed Fullerton program, which is providing restaurant meals to families in need. And it's just a great program. But what we did kind of very low key, because we didn't want a lot of public outcry, is we created our own Project Room Key program for 6 months for high-risk homeless seniors, disabled, and those that are in that high-risk needs. And that really helped get them into different other programs that kept them off the street and kept them on the path to getting housed. So our current efforts. So we currently have 2 homeless police liaison officers, and we work closely with Orange County Mental Health. In addition, we've hired 2 part-time homeless case managers. I mean, these 2 guys, they're great. If any of you have met them, they are on the street, and why we really like it, they are here 5 days a week, and they are focused on Fullerton, and they really have been creating relationships, not just with our homeless clients, but with our service providers, our churches, and those that can help our homeless. So we've been helping with getting ID cards, social security cards, documentation to get them involved in the continuum of care process. And that's a huge issue of trying to make sure that we get them as many opportunities as we can. So our HELOs, homeless liaison officers, our case managers, we work with county outreach and engagement, public health clinical staff, CalOptima. We can now help our homeless enroll in CalOptima based on our new app we have. That is huge. That is taking us 2 years to get that ability of working with CalOptima and to be able to help our clients. They're working with all of our community nonprofits and faith-based groups to assist our homeless clients. And like this, now this was 3 months ago, we had 60 clients with 20% of them being placed into housing. A lot of people will say that is low, but within 6 months to have that number, that is huge. And we are continuing working with the unification of families, one being a senior. We had put her with one of our churches in a hotel for 2 weeks until we were able to connect with the family and then have them come down and pick up their mom. And they had been looking for her. So this was just a lot of hard work and relationship building, and that is the key. So, Illumination Foundation, a lot of you helped the city in getting the approval of our navigation center on Commonwealth. We have committed $500,000 to help with the tenant improvements. We funded the full operation of the shelter bed since opening. The recuperative care beds are utilized, and that's through private insurance, county health departments, Medicare, Medicaid. However, Illumination Foundation leases the building from a third party, and they're paying rent. And the city has a lease guarantee on the building of the Illumination Foundation. So our goal is to potentially buy the building. That would, eliminate additionally the rent, and that would help our partnership with them in housing our homelessness. So the shelter numbers. So the city received county funding from April 1, 2020 to December. We've housed 103 clients. And then from April 1 to November, the city funded using our CDBG funds, and we helped 144 clients. With them, we reunited 3 clients with family. We have 6 permanently housed, 3 moved into single family home settings, and this is for permanent supportive housing. And then 3 clients were moved into transitional programs. We're continuing to work with all of our clients and moving them from the shelter to transitional to permanent housing. And it takes more than 6 months. And that's the problem. Everybody expects then 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, we'll have them housed. There's not the availability of housing to move them that fast. So the key now, based on all these years of doing different services, is Project Hope. And it was continuing the momentum of the existing North Orange County Public Safety and Collaborative. Formerly, it was the task force. And if you can move on forward. We received 1 year of funding. And so the funding is for both youth violence and prevention intervention, working with reentry of offenders into communities, and homeless outreach and intervention. Now, when we're the North Orange County Public Safety Task Force, we only had 9 cities. But based on the success of this partnership, we now have 11 cities, and there's 1 or 2 more that are in the North SPA that wants to join. So we were allocated $7.8 million for a 1 year period. And really with the youth violence and reentry, we're working with a lot of nonprofits within the different cities to help not just our homeless clients, but all citizens. So move forward. So the origins of Project Hope. It was addressing homelessness through shared responsibility, basically having the right resource, the right person at the right time. And we wanted a structured, collaborative, and highly leveraged approach, aligning and coordinating the multiple efforts across the contiguous and manageable geographic. So we have clients from Anaheim that are walking over the Harbor Bridge to Fullerton. We have, our homeless are not just in Fullerton, they're walking many areas. So Project Hope will address this issue. So we are working with a lot of different organizations, County Health, Behavioral Mental Health, our PERT team, hopefully St. Jude's, Cal Optima. We're working with the outreach engagement team, and these are what we refer to as the blue shirts. In Fullerton, we have them Monday mornings. With this effort, we will have them housed in Fullerton 6 days a week, not 7, we're trying to get 7. Telecare, and then working with all our shelter service providers. And this would allow us to provide referrals to all of the different homeless shelters, not just Brenda Park, not just Placentia or Fullerton, but also working with all the other cities. If they have ties to Anaheim, we can get them into Anaheim shelters or Santa Ana shelters. So we also want to work with our nonprofits. So our goal is eventually to integrate medical services, partner with local hospitals, ambulance services, and this is to provide that, as you could say, street medical services, getting out there and providing medical services to the homeless where they're at. They don't want to go to a clinic. They don't want to go into an emergency room, and we can help them in the field. And we've been working with a couple of different agencies on this. And that's a long-term goal. So with working with many cities, not many cities in this North SPA have a ton of money. So leveraging our money, leveraging our services, leveraging our personnel, this will help us provide better services. And it's going to be evidence-based, data-driven, and this model will have the data that everybody's looking for. How many clients have you served? What were the responses? Working with our outreach grid, we can provide reports now, and that's critical. So I don't know if I have an outreach grid. No, I don't, but we have a new app. So currently it's just used by our police officers and our homeless case managers, but this will be going public. And so anyone can get on the outreach grid and say, hey, there's this homeless person, they want services now. They can send it to us, and in real time, we'll get that saying, okay, we have somebody that wants services. Okay, Fullerton has no case managers right now because they're at a county meeting. So we can send somebody from Breda Park or Brea or Placentia. So it's really getting that right person out at the right time. When somebody wants services 7 days a week, we need to be able to respond. So where will this hub be? We have a building, 2050 Youth Way building Building 1. It's next to our Fullerton Co-op Center that's 50 years. And so this building has been vacant and we host Hope there. We actually just received our bids and we'll be going to council on January 18th to award the construction contract to, if anybody hasn't seen it, we'll do a before and after tour. Our standard joke is Mike Brady is the architect. For those of you over 50, you'll know who Mike Brady is. And under 50, ask your parents. So it's Mike Brady with lots of rooms, but we're really excited about the fact that we're starting construction. So we're continuing to work with the North Spa cities regarding use and funding of the navigation centers. Currently, all the cities only fund the 2 shelters, and we think it should be the 3 shelters. So that's a task that we're working with. Council extended the TVRA programs for seniors and veterans, so we have 2 more years. And we're working with Illumination Foundations for permanent source of funding. We have funding for the next 6 months, but we need to have a continued source of funding. And after the required public outreach and notices, the city received 1.9 million of Home American Rescue Plan funding. And so this is a great opportunity on how can we spend this for affordable housing, for services. And so we're not going to rush in and try to allocate it, but we're going to spend the next 2 to 3 months of finding out from all of the groups, including the Fullerton Collaborative, on how we can do this. So maybe in March, I can do a presentation on what the funds can be used for and then get the input from the community. This is a requirement to fill the gap. What services are not being provided? Who are we missing? Are we missing a segment of population that, you would know and I wouldn't know? So point in time count. I know there's a lot of discussion of, is it going to be held? I met with them this morning at 9 a.m. and there is a 90% chance that it is going to be held Wednesday, January 26th. The city will be the hub over at our library. So we have 4:45 a.m. and 5 p.m. time slots. Please volunteer, sign up for training. They are taking every COVID protection possible. You have to be fully vaccinated. If not vaccinated, you have to have your within 48 hours, negative testing. They'll have public health nurses here. And so I'm really hoping that we can get some volunteers today. And if not today, if you could just talk to your groups. It's groups of 3 to 4 in cars. So if you have a group that you feel comfortable with and they're in your cocoon, volunteer together and we'll make sure you stay as a group. So I'm rushed through that. I apologize, but really looking forward to questions.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That was fantastic information. I liked being able to see, even me being involved as I am in the collaborative, it was great to see the timeline and breakdown and what we've been working on and have achieved and still need to work on. Do we have any questions for Kelly at this time? You could put them in the chat. We have one. How do we sign up for the point and time count?
I will find out and I will put it in the chat in a second.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions? You could feel free to unmute yourself if we have any other questions from anybody.
Hi, this is Barry Ross. Hi, Kelly. Just a question. It looked like from your data that maybe 10 to 15% of the clients in the navigation center did get into housing. Do we know what happened to the other 85%? Did they go back to the street?
Great question, Barry. Actually, we've been continued housing them at the navigation center, even though everybody thought we had closed. We had 40 clients in the navigation center that are going through the process. So we're continuing to work with them. We have at about a 10% dropout rate, which is actually lower than the average shelter. But like many shelters, right after Christmas, well, before Christmas, after Christmas, 100% of all shelters in Orange County were shut down due to COVID scares. luckily, Fullerton Navigation Center is open. Prior to getting to our navigation center, we actually put them in a hotel for 3 days, do the testing prior to moving them into our shelter. So we've been a lot luckier than others. So, but we've continued to work through the process of those that want to be housed. We are finding them housing.
Thank you. We have a question from Beverly Berryman. She says, do you have a count of unsheltered families or even just an estimate?
No, we have a low number of families. I'm working with Families Forward. Pathways of Hope is one of our hubs for families. And that's a great question that we'll have to ask David, but we are seeing mostly single, some partners, but we aren't seeing a lot of the families. And we're trying to work with the school districts to see if there's people we're missing. And that's one of the gaps that we really want to investigate over the next 6 months.
Katie Savant asks, what will be at the Hope Center?
It will be service providers. So at the Hope Center will be, right now we're working with Brenna Park. And so the Brenna Park and Fullerton will be the launching agencies. Slowly, we will bring other cities and agencies in there. We met with the County of Orange. They have committed both behavioral health staff, PERT staff are, so we're working with Cal Optima will have staff there. So it will be service providers. So if we have a client that needs multiple services, we will have that available.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there, for Megan Ramirez, is there any progress for the interim waiting period for families already placed in coordinated entry? And what does the priority of vulnerability look like for that?
In working with both David from Pathways of Hope and Families Forward directly, who's we have seen progress. What they're doing is anybody that's on that list to get into shelters, they're putting them in hotels and then working them through the process. So one of the programs we're looking at is potentially creating our own tenant-based rental assistance for homeless families here. And that way we can, once we have found a family, they're eligible, then we can work with our apartment association and getting them housing. So that's kind of one of the areas that I think we're lacking, is we don't have a good count of families. When I find a family on the street, I have not had an issue in getting them into at least a hotel.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for our questions, unless anybody has any more. No. Okay, just to let you know, Debbie, we did put in there our registration for the meeting attendance. So if you could please click on that Google Doc that Debbie posted and check mark this month if you're here, and if you're not on the list, add your name to the list. And she said if you have a problem getting into the document, if you could just message her, she'll take care of that for you. And then also, Debbie also posted the link in the chat for registering for the point in time. Okay, so you can reference both of those there. And then Harry also posted some information with more information about the point in time count. Okay, that was really great, Kelly. I agree, Bev. Thank you so much. Okay, Barry, Debbie told me we don't have Jason with us today, but Debbie said that you have some other reporting to share with our meeting.
I do, about homelessness. And Debbie, are you able to pull up the slides?
Yes, I will work on that.
Okay, thank you. So I'll speak to it. I wanted to share with you a little bit about what's going on both around Orange County, the work that we are involved in at Providence St. Jude Medical Center, and how it interfaces with some of the things that Kelly talked about as well. If we could go to the second slide. I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. So you know about the point in time count that was done in 2019, and in Orange County, it showed a little less than 8,000 persons experiencing homelessness. The Continuum of Care Board asked the county to developed some different statistics in 2020. And what they looked at were how many unique individuals in Orange County had experienced homelessness at some time during the year. And you can see it was over 13,000. So the point in time count is one day, but over the course of the year in 2020, it's a significantly higher number of people experiencing homelessness. The other thing that I just wanted to highlight is this data shows the people who enter homelessness for the first time, unique individuals, which was 5,576, and the number of people who exit homelessness during the year. And in 2020, according to this data, there were about 3,000 people that exited homelessness. So there were 2,500 additional more homeless in 2020 than 2019 because more people are entering homelessness than are exiting homelessness. And I think that's really important because we'd like to see that be the reverse, that more people are exiting homelessness than entering. And that's where prevention comes in. And maybe, Debbie, we can post these slides at the end so that people have the data. Okay, so I just want to point out a couple of things. I think at our last meeting, it may have been we had a presentation about the housing element. So I just want to reiterate the importance of everyone commenting about the proposed housing element. And I listed here where comments could be sent both with the city and with the state housing community development department. It's important to focus your comments on whether you feel the plan has concrete policies that will produce affordable housing and committed sites for the housing. I submitted my comments. Some of my concerns were that they identified almost all the churches that had potentially could have housing if the city passes a by right housing, on faith-based properties, but they didn't say which churches they checked with and which ones were interested. They just put the number in that as if it would happen. And so that, and similarly, they proposed some policies, but those policies have not been passed. And so I think it's really important we all weigh in on this. We have a little bit of time, probably this month. It will go to the Planning Commission again and the City Council, possibly February. So there's an opportunity there to provide input to the city as well. Why is this important? Because if we don't have a strong housing element, we're not going to produce affordable housing in the city. The next slide. I want to also point out that St. Jude has supported 3 organizations in Orange County to educate and create housing champions. And again, please spread the word among your constituents. They can go to the website that's listed here to register. There's education. And really the focus is to help people become knowledgeable about affordable housing issues. It is very complex. And then to advocate when projects come up or policies come up. The next slide, please. Just to make you aware, there's a proposed ballot initiative that is signatures are going to be sought over the next several months that is going to basically take away the teeth from the state to enforce policies or penalties on cities. So the whole thing is about local control on land use and zoning. So it's really important to get educated about this initiative. So if you're asked to sign it, you'll know if it's something you want to support or you don't. Right now, almost all the cities in Orange County have not met their targets for affordable housing, significantly not met it for low and very low income. The question to ask is, if this type of initiative is passed, how will that affect that? The next slide. I just want to point out that one of the projects we're working on is an eviction diversion collaborative court model. Last week we had a call with, I think, 3 judges from the Superior Court, including the presiding judge, to talk about developing a model that we saw in Pennsylvania in the courts there that would try to intervene before people are evicted. And we have a collaborative that we're working with that includes United Way as the backbone agency, the Public Law Center, Jamboree Housing, plaintiff attorneys, and others. And what we're hoping to do is a pilot with the court so that instead of getting evicted, there's an opportunity for case management, rental assistance, particularly after the state funds go away. There's a real concern that evictions are going to increase. Before I also want to mention one other thing. At St. Jude in mid-October, we partnered with the Illumination Foundation and opened up a 20-bed recuperative care and step-down program for homeless women who are older women. And the first day we were open, or the facility was open, there were 12 women there. I'm pleased to say that in the first few months, almost half of them were transitioned to some type of housing. And these are women that were living, one woman was living in her car for 8 years. Women who were blind, who were in wheelchairs. So there's a real need for a setting, and we were real excited that our leadership was willing to designate our former convent where the sisters lived, which was attached to the hospital, for this program. So I'll stop here unless there's any questions.
And as we
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Debbie.
As we're waiting for questions in the chat, I do want to also acknowledge that we're missing someone here today. And unfortunately, we lost a great hero in our city, Mike Clements, who has been a great resource in the amazing efforts around homelessness. And so we wanted just to acknowledge the passing of Mike, and what a wonderful asset.
Thank you, Debbie, for bringing that up. Barry, I just had a question as a member, if for responding to what you were saying about the stuff with City Council. Is there a way you could draft those concerns that you have? Like, I trust your expertise to just take that and then
Yes,
do my own
I
comment.
responded. I can share that, as I looked at it, I can share what my comments were. Yes.
That would be, I would appreciate that as a member.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, Lisa just put something in the chat about Mike's accomplishments in the city. So if you would, and beyond that, if you're, feel free to check that out, please. Okay. Any other questions for Barry? We're looking good on time. Okay, if you have any other questions, you can just put those in the chat and we can get to those if you think about them afterwards. But for now, we will go ahead and move on to our subcommittee reports. Christian, would you mind starting us with Next Gen?
Of course, thanks, Liana. I'll be brief. Hi, everyone. I am Christian. I co-chair the Next Gen Youth Subcommittee along with Beth Berryman of Creighton. I think I saw you here, Beth. And for those of you who don't know, Next Gen is a network of youth serving organizations around town. And chances are, if you're here, then you belong to one of those youth serving organizations. So our committees, they look pretty similar to this, sort of like a general meeting, but there's a little more room to interact and directly connect with one another, which we really love. So we get together once every other month on the first Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. So our next meeting day is going to be Tuesday, March 1st, and I'm going to be sending out a calendar update to our partner, our next gen partners who would like to, or so they can RSVP for that. I'll drop my information in the chat. If there's anybody here who would like to receive next gen emails and join us on March 1st, please feel free to send me a message. And also, and what do we do during our meetings? So we get together to share our nonprofit services. We get to hear directly from our partners and see what they're doing. And we have a chance to refer services to one another. That way our youth and families from all of our corners of the community can be more informed as to what's going on. So I'll drop that information in the chat and look forward to seeing many, many of you on March 1st. So thanks, Lena.
Thank you so much, Christian. And next, I would love to have Trang give us an update for our early childhood subcommittee.
Hello everyone, my name is Jiang Lai. I work in Fullerton School District, and Barry and I help to lead the Early Childhood Subcommittee. And I want to give you a little bit of background on our group and what we do. So our mission is, it reads like this. It is our mission to advocate, educate, and engage the community in the health and development of all children in the early years. Through our advocacy, we will promote child-friendly policies, systems, and environments with a focus on equity. And our vision is that all children in Fullerton are given opportunities to build a strong foundation for school and life by caring and prepared adults. And if that sounds exciting to you, that sounds interesting to you, please drop me your email in the chat and I'll add you to our listserv. Our next meeting is going to be on January 31st at 3 p.m. We are meeting through Zoom currently. And our plan is to meet every Monday, or the last Monday of the month at 3 p.m. So if you're interested, let me know. We'd love to have you on board. We really focus on 3 areas. One is early education. The second piece is health and development, and the third one is families. So there's a key word, but I forget what it is. But we want to engage our families. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that update. And we don't need a homeless update from our subcommittee because our whole meeting was around that today, but I would love to hear from Peter Hernandez and our Move More, Eat Healthy initiative.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just as a quick reminder, I know I briefly reported on it during the December meeting, but I just wanted to remind everyone that at the beginning of January for our Move More Eat Healthy subcommittee, we did launch our new quarterly challenge entitled Above and Beyond Move More Eat Healthy. And just to remind everyone, our topic of focus is mental health with this quarterly challenge. And so with Move More Eat Healthy, we're collaborating with a lot of different partners to provide different mindfulness opportunities, specifically right now, just because of the pandemic and the effect it's having on our families and communities. And so with this challenge, what we are doing besides providing the mindfulness activities and the physical activity and nutrition education that we typically provide, we're also hosting a friendly competition between the different schools, part of Fullerton School District, where different members of each school are actually being asked to participate in the challenge and set a healthy goal. We have 4 different healthy goal options, but based on the school that actually gathers the most commitments and goals, we are actually providing a $250 gift card to the school that ends up garnering the most goals for this challenge. And so that $250 gift card could be used towards different physical activity education equipment. So if anyone would like more information, I will put my contact information in the chat box, and I will also share the daily challenge monthly calendar that we've developed to go along with this challenge, just to continue to motivate people at home to do different activities to continue pursuing health and wellness. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Well, we've pretty much wrapped up everything we needed to get done on our agenda, but we do have a couple
Anna?
minutes. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We have one more on our agenda for the update on the redistricting. If Harry
Oh,
could
I'm so
update.
sorry about that. I missed that.
Harry, if you wanted to just update us on the redistricting and.
Yeah. The main thing I want to point out today is that on January 13th, there will be a workshop on redistricting. They haven't made it clear what the agenda is, but I believe we will talk about drawing maps for the city districts. This is to determine what the city council districts will be for the next 10 years. And I'm going to put this in the chat, but the January 13th meeting will be virtual, although it is listed on the city calendar as being at City Hall. It is not. And there will be a couple more workshops. Let me find the date. Anyway, it's later in January and February 10th, and those are currently scheduled to be in person in Southeast Fullerton and Southwest Fullerton at remote locations. And the city calendar has misinformation about those. It lists those as being held at City Hall, but they're not. So I have created a Facebook page and a website where I try to provide supplemental information about the redistricting process and the meetings. And I'm going to put that in the chat when I find the chat. Here it is. And that's about it. I want to be brief so that Deborah invites me back again next month. But please look at my Facebook page for further updates as they come to me. I will put them out there, and information on how to draw maps and when the meetings are going to be and so on. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that important update. We really appreciate it. Okay, was there anybody else, Debbie? Or can we open the floor for a couple minutes?
Open the floor.
We can open the floor. We have 8 minutes for anybody that has any announcements they'd like to share for upcoming events with your organizations, or any call to actions that you'd like to share. Just feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and take the floor.
Hi, this is Paulette, and I'm with the 4th District in Orange County, and we are trying to set up a drive-through COVID testing site in Fullerton, hopefully at St. Philip's Benzi Church. A lot of the elderly are not able to wait in these long lines, so we're trying to set this up in collaboration with Latino Health Access. And as soon as we have all the information, we'll be posting it. And our target audience is the elderly in Southwest Fullerton.
Very, very good. I like the Father Dennis from St. Philip and Easy here. Yeah, we're hoping, that this will be up soon enough, and it will be wonderful if it is. I'm sorry, today, for whatever reason, we had real trouble here with our internet. So I phased out of this thing earlier on. But I just, again, and I appreciate Debbie. Thank you for the homage to Mike Clements, because we've lost somebody who's was really very important to us, and above all very dear to us. I mean, he was a spectacularly good man, and honestly, from a Christian point of view, someone who dedicated pretty much his entire life to both serving God and then serving the least among us. there's really almost nobody that I can think of that I've known in my life, who has done that as well and as long as he did. So really, we, for all of us, we certainly feel sadness, but death comes to us all, folks. But I mean, a life well lived like this, brings some joy as well. We've been joking about this. Enedina, his wife, mentioned it first, that he'll be up there in heaven organizing the angels, and we hope that that's the case. And if our answers our prayers start to be answered a little bit faster as a result, boy, that would be great. But anyway, I really, again, want to just underline just how much he meant to us, and also the legacy that he leaves. Finally, we're getting these, I've now ordered a bunch of these, two batches of these COVID tests through Amazon. It's, it really, both times they came within days. Initially, they said it would take like weeks, and we've gotten like 20 of these now. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, but if you're worried about your staff and so forth, and this, just go to Amazon, type in COVID test, and you can see the orange box at least, that they do seem to come quickly. Anyway, thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay, we have some announcements in the chat about please attend the redistricting meeting on Thursday from Kayla, and then also Katie letting us know that Cal State University of Fullerton's spring semester will be starting this January 23rd. The campus is open and classes will start in a virtual format for the first 2 weeks. So virtual for the first 2 weeks, but the campus open. So do we have any other announcements?
I have an announcement.
Great.
Hi, my name is Susan. I'm a social worker at the Orange County Public Healthcare Agency. So our program, which is PACT, it's perinatal and infant and assessment and coordination team, is currently accepting pregnant women. Well, especially right now, I know we're on the topic of homelessness. We are accepting homeless clients as far as they're pregnant, and in order for one to qualify, they may have a current use or history of substance use, be living with HIV positive, and mental health situations and stuff like that. So we are accepting clients as far with our program right now. So just so everyone knows, and as far with our program, we do have a team of public health nurses that provide the case management piece and provide that support to our clients as far with finding housing, resources with food, supplies, and especially with the prenatal care, like scheduling a doctor's appointment. So we definitely are accepting clients right now. So if you do have anyone that is interested, definitely refer it to us, and I will be providing my information on the chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. One more. Yes, sir.
Hi, everybody. I'm Zia Salim. I'm a professor of geography at Cal State Fullerton, and I wanted to make an announcement that if we're successful, you won't hear again for 25 years. So some of you may have heard from, City is conducting a community survey to understand what folks who live or work or spend time in Fullerton think about urban trees. This is part of a CAL FIRE grant. That's one component of it is to plant 500 trees in our city, including a specific focus on under-resourced neighborhoods. And so there's a community survey that's open to anyone who lives, works, or spends time in Fullerton. It's online, it's anonymous, and I'll put the link in the chat. But if you would like to take it yourself, if those criteria apply to you, or if you'd like to spread the information about it to your memberships or your constituencies, we'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about it, I'm here to help answer those. But thank you so much for it. I guess the 25-year thing I should explain. The city is currently updating its master plan for the urban forest. The last version of this was 25 years ago. And as you know, things have changed. And so this is the next update of the master plan for how trees are kind of worked into Fullerton. So the city would like to have input into that as they plan the next version, which will hopefully take us for a couple of decades. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Please go ahead and put that in the chat so we can get it to everybody before our meeting ends. Well, I hope all of you have an amazing rest of the month of January and get 22 started off to a great start. I hope you're all staying healthy and safe with their number of cases rising and doing the best that you can in your own households and within your own communities and businesses and nonprofits to keep everybody safe. Yes, testing, thanks to Father for sharing that. Testing has been very useful for my facility, and we've been really relying on that to make sure people aren't exposed. Okay, so Debbie, unless you have anything else. No.
Don't forget to sign in if you haven't already just signed in. But everyone have a wonderful and safe month.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.